Now, Russia has accused NATO of moving towards its borders and says it had to take measures to safeguard its security. These comments from the Kremlin coming after Russia's decision to strengthen its nuclear arsenal was described by NATO as nuclear saber-rattling. Moscow says it's not entering an arms race, just responding to certain threats. This as tensions remain high over Russia's role in the Ukrainian conflict. The Guardian's Shaun Walker joins me now from Moscow. Shaun, Russia says it's responding to certain threats. What threats are these?
Well, I think if you look back over the past few years and indeed the whole of Putin's presidency, we've always seen these two alternate narratives. In the West, the sort of aggressive, resurgent Russia looks very much like Vladimir Putin trying to sort of stamp Russia's authority on parts of Eastern Europe, trying to revive some of that Soviet-era glory. If you look at it from Moscow's perspective, they've always said what's happening is the exact opposite, that when the Soviet Union collapsed, NATO gave certain guarantees that it wouldn't expand, and what Russia's seen is NATO expanding further and further towards its boundaries. And indeed, that's what we saw in Crimea and Ukraine. We essentially saw Russia trying to make sure that Ukraine would never become part of NATO. And as we've seen over the last year, it's prepared to go a very long way to ensure that happens. So I think, this is what we're seeing again. We've got both sides making these quite aggressive moves. We've got the US talking about putting armor into Eastern Europe, into the Baltics, and we've got Russia talking about missiles, and both sides are saying these are defensive measures against the other side's aggression.
Now, there's concern in the West over President Putin's announcement on putting new intercontinental ballistic missiles into service and the increased defence spending more generally. But what's the reaction within Russia?
Well, I think there has been a resurgence in patriotism here over the last year since the annexation of Crimea last spring. Yesterday, I was at this huge theme park outside Moscow, which actually was where Putin made that announcement. And, they're building this giant park, which is going to be finished in 2017, which has been described as a military Disneyland. So there is this whipping up on television and among the government of patriotism among the Russian people. And I think just by looking at Putin's approval ratings, which are higher than they've ever been, I think it's fair to say that it is working.